I am gaming. I am gaming. I am gaming podcast.
Hey everybody, my name is Ivica. Thank you so much for being on the latest episode of I Am Gaming Podcast. This is a podcast about the video game industry, entrepreneurship, gaming nostalgia, and many more cool things I find to be in the same realm of business and creative ventures. Like always, first and foremost, a huge, ginormous, gigantic thanks to all my Patreon supporters who really make this podcast possible. Right now, there is a bunch of people, not a bunch, 7 actually, 7 to 9, depending how you count and how Patreon counts them. But you, all of you, really make this podcast a real life possibility that is growing and expanding and keeping on. And that's all thanks to you, because without your generous monthly donations, it would be pretty tough to do the same things over and over again, week in, week out. But thanks to your support, I can do that. I have that support, stability, and direct monetary incentive to keep going, and that's why we just I hit, and you're here as well, episode 161. So a big thanks to all of my Patreon supporters again. You make this podcast a real life possibility. Everyone else, please check out my Patreon supporters in the description below. The links there will take you to their YouTube channels, games, NFT projects, cool movies, websites, and many more really truly excellent stuff that you can enjoy right now. Also, if you're considering becoming a Patreon supporter, that would be more than awesome, and I would truly and immensely appreciate it. This, like I said, is episode 161, and in it I'm going to do something of a follow-up from an episode I did precisely a month ago, which was back in December 11th. So not exactly a month ago, but nearly a month ago, where I discussed the fact that my short guide to everything important in life, my latest book, which is actually my longest book, which is also still pretty short, it's below 90 pages on Amazon Kindle, was heating up. So back in December, I saw some activity for the book that was really promising, and I was really hopeful that it's going to break a pretty dry and bad spell that was mainly throughout the autumn months, everywhere since the start of the summer actually. My sales and activity on Kindle were pretty abysmal, and I was seeing some movement and changes back in early December, and that was really giving me some much needed hope about the coming year. Now I'm really happy to report that the same process continued in January, and right now, for my humble baseline of success in terms of selling books and of getting so-called Kindle edition normalized page reads, or KANP reads, where I get a fraction of a cent for each read page, things are looking really good actually, and that is really allowing me to get some much needed optimism about the whole process of being active and engaged on Amazon through my short books. So just a bit of backstory here. My background is pretty diverse in terms of subjects I'm interested in and subjects I learned in school and later had experience in professional domain. I'm presently a game design teacher in Novi Sad, Serbia, at the Academy of Arts in my beautiful hometown of Novi Sad. But I have also worked, and I still work, in the game development industry as a game designer and basically consultant. But I also have a lot of media training, a lot of activity in the marketing domain, a lot of copywriting experience, and I'm a trained psychologist, which I also finished school with when I was younger. I got my basic university degree, my master's degree as a psychologist. So I try to mix all of those up in my books, which are short non-fiction works. Most of them you can read in about an hour or two. And my latest one is a book where I try to sum up all of my experience as a counseling psychologist. I was working, and I still am working, as a counselor for the last decade, for 10 years. This year, or 2022, marked my 10th year of working that domain. I do it in a limited scope. I don't do it full time. It's sort of my side job or my additional extra job, let's call it that. But I generated a lot of experience from that as well. 10 years, a lot of clients, a lot of discussions about a lot of topics important in their lives. And I use that to kind of create this book that I call A Short Guide to Everything Important in Life, 13 Topics with Tips and Tricks. And I try to sum up all of those topics in a single wholesome reading experience where I discuss each of those subjects and kind of finish up with one massive subject as well. Also, I try to do it in a way that is interesting, that is kind of cheeky, that is humorous, that uses a lot of pop culture like movies, video games. Again, that's the part of my kind of diverse background. And the finished product is actually something I'm really proud of. I think it reads well. I think it's generally useful for allowing people to think about some of actually really important domains in anyone's life. But more importantly, I think it's not a boring experience, or at least I hope it's not a completely boring experience. So all of those things kind of are important for me to be able to say that the book, in my view, is not a failure. And the activity I saw during these 10 days of January are really, really good because I have some sales, but more importantly, I have a lot of, comparatively speaking, for my small libraries, my small bibliography, a lot of reads, a lot of key NP reads or key ANP reads, which is showing me that people are actually reading my book actively, not just buying it because it looks nice and then forgetting about it. And all of that is making me super hopeful, super happy that things are kind of moving in that direction. I'm again hoping that they will continue to move in that direction in the coming period. I have a system that I kind of designed that I'm using it for promotion of my books. I'm going to use a single episode of I'm Gaming podcast where I'm going to discuss that system. That's also something I started up recently, actually at the end of last year, and it too is likely generating some results. So these two factors, when they're added up, in my mind, they are fantastic. And if that kind of line of process continues, I will be super happy to see a completely different 2023 to 2022, which was pretty bad for me, at least in my work on Amazon, in terms of sales, in terms of general activity, starting with the January 2022 and going all the way to the end of December. It was a pretty slow year, a pretty weak year compared even to my older years like 2019, where I had a lot fewer books actually in my collection. So I'm hoping that this period will change all of that, and especially in terms of more can't read pages, which are now, my latest book is basically as long as my other 5 books, not completely, but let's say that that book covers as many pages as 70% of all of my other books. So a lot more pages to be read. Still, I'm not actually writing something like sci-fi or fantasy here, where you would be able to have hundreds and hundreds of pages read every day. My longest book is, like I said, 90 pages, but still a lot more than my other longest book, which is 50 pages, and my most successful book to date is only 32 pages, which is the book about overcoming procrastination. So a great start to 2023 for my book sales, especially for this book. Hopefully it gets something of a trend going. Hopefully I see some spillover into other books I have, and all of those good things come together as a whole. If you're one of my readers, somebody who got my book, who read my book, who supported me along the way, thank you so much. It really meant and means a lot to me, and you're awesome. The same goes for my Patreon supporters, and that's pretty much the end of this episode. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. My name is Ivica. Again, there is a bunch of ways how you can support me. You can buy my book on Amazon or my other books. The links are in the description below. You can send me some kind of a donation directly through PayPal or crypto. You can support me on Patreon, which would be awesome, but it costs a lot of money. month in, month out. I mean, actually, you can choose how much money you can give me $1 per month, but still, it's $1 that you probably can't spare, or anyone else in 2023, realistically speaking. But still, the best and easiest and simplest way to support me is to subscribe to my channel and be here for my new episodes, either of game development content, gaming content, or my podcast episodes like you're here right now. Right here, right now. That's all for me. Thanks so much. My name is Ivica. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you in precisely 7 days from now. Until then, bye bye.